Zanna,
Miranda.
today we're going to talk about AI and experience. You wrote a blog series about it. It's part of your new book that will be published beginning of next year.
Yes.
Why this topic?
Well, I think it was by now 8 weeks ago when I don't look a lot on LinkedIn, maybe also because of the reason I'm going to explain right now. Because like say every other post is something around rest in peace PowerPoint, or I saved a gazillion hours doing something with AI. And so I have a background. My first studies was in business and IT. So I understand enough, right, to know the motor behind AI and technology. And I thought, this nonsense has got to stop. So also from CX, I always share the sense and the nonsense. So I felt I really need to share, frustration is a good source to start, writing about something. And I think in just 2 hours, 7 blogs poured out of me. And I'm very pro AI, which you will learn right during this episode. But we really have to distinguish between the sense and the nonsense in the current hype.
Yeah, good one. So we have 5 beliefs. We're going to dive a little bit deeper in these beliefs and demystify them.
Yes.
But before we start, what do you have to say to the leaders listening to this podcast?
Yeah, I think one important message, right? Your board is pushing for AI. You have to do something with AI. There's a lot of FOMO, right? Fear of missing out. A lot of suppliers are, chasing you to implement the next sexy toy. And of course, as a CEO or a leader, you cannot be the expert in everything. But you are an expert in your business, right? You know your organization best, so trust that. That's number one.
Yeah.
And common sense goes a very long way. So if the supplier is not able to explain it super clearly to you, so everybody understands, but more importantly, if they cannot explain how it will solve your business issues, to me, those are key red flags.
Yeah.
And maybe if you feel a bit insecure with all the, it's going super fast, all the developments, just think how many websites have you visited where there was a chatbot that you could use that was a super bad experience. Right? So yes, developments are going super fast, but in essence, as we'll, dive into more in the rest of the podcast, just, common sense, know your business, fixing business issues, and you're good to go.
All right. So let's start with the first belief. It's an interesting one. AI and workflow automation.
Yes.
It's mixed up a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, so the reason why I distinguish between the two is the same when it comes to customer experience. If everything becomes customer experience, we're no longer speaking the same language. And we no longer know, hey, but what do you actually mean and how can it solve business issues? So for me, the same when it comes to workflow automation and AI. The example that I tend to use is also on LinkedIn. You see a lot of messages like, hey, I saved 1,000 hours, and the example that they tend to use is, let's say there's a post and then you can say, add a survey in the comment and I'll send you something. It used to cost me 1,000 hours, la, la, la. But now I've used AI. That's not AI. That's workflow automation. And it's super valuable. It's super efficient. So for sure, think about how it can help your business. But it's not AI. Because let's say it's just executing super strict rules.
Yeah.
So if, for example, instead of surveys, you type in survey, you'll get an error. It will not work.
Yeah.
And so workflow automation is really following a strong set of rules. Rule 1 is there's a tool that looks for the word. Tool 2 is, hey, I check if I'm linked with this person on LinkedIn. Tool 3 is making sure that I send that PDF to the LinkedIn chat. Right? Really strict rules, purely execution. While AI, and now everything is AI, right? Again.
Same as with CX, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? It's just an umbrella for so many things. And I think maybe 3 elements are worth distinguishing. And this is definitely not the holy definition, but workflow automation is one part. Then the whole hype around ChatGPT, right? All, let's say, the chatbots. Those are large language models, right? LLMs that are being used.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the most hype around is right now. And you have machine learning. Right? Machine learning, for example, is in hospitals. You want to make sure that the computer starts learning. They read the let's say the photo of a lung, right? Diagnosis. And you teach them, you train them, okay, which picture is connected to which diagnosis. So that's where the computer is actually learning. When it comes to LLMs and the ChatGPTs of this world, of course, the language model has been trained by OpenAI and by cloud. But you as a user, your chatbot is just interpreting the data that you feed it.
Yeah.
So that's not learning and it's not workflow automation. So it's, let's say, more intelligent. It lies in between the two.
Yeah.
And I think it is important, again, to distinguish that, because just look at, for example, CRM, right? I always say, like 25 years ago, I did my thesis for my IT studies on CRM. And I thought, if I'm going to work, I'm going to meet companies that have amazing CRM systems.
That was the dream.
25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I think anybody listening understands in their own company how big of a drama their CRM still is. So I think in the end, if you look at how much there's to be gained for businesses just using smart IT, I think maybe 90% of the business issues can be fixed with workflow automation. Right? So I'm very pro workflow automation, but it's not necessarily AI.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for you as a leader to understand, okay, what business challenges do we have? And what is the proper solution to fix that business issue?
Nice. All right. Let's go to the second one.
Yes.
And that's AI is moving extremely fast.
Yes.
Everyone is saying that, right?
Yes. And that's true and not true.
Yeah.
So it's true that the new tools, development of these LLM models is going exponentially fast. So let's say for me as a freelancer, I also play a lot around with it myself, right? I'm testing new tools. Let's say at least on a monthly basis, something new comes out. But most corporate organizations, whether in government or in commercial, they cannot be that freelancer and just play around with any tool. So also here, connecting back to the CRM system, it's super challenging to say, okay, I'm Vodafone, or I'm a super large corporation. I have an IT infrastructure, right? I cannot just every day think, hey, let's plug in this next AI tool, just data security, privacy, all the things that you need to double check. So on that end, so many corporations have so old legacy systems that integrating AI into legacy systems, definitely not super fast. Think again of the CRM example. But also here, the key is to figure out, okay, but what issue do we need to solve? And then how can AI or IT in essence, right, can facilitate that?
Yeah.
So yes, it's going super fast, but I think it's also because we're at the peak hype cycle, probably looking at the Gartner cycle. So I think it's also healthy to maybe think back about the internet. Internet was also a hype. Everybody needed to have their folder online, right? That was the beginning of the internet. And still to this day, you have very bad websites or e-commerce sites. So I think my message here is also, to sort of chill, relax.
Yeah.
This is another technological wave, but really focus on which problems should it solve, and not be inspired, right, with the ideas and the possibilities, but always connected back to the business.
Yeah.
And right, the corporate implementation of AI for sure will not be as Speedy Gonzalez as startups, right? Startups are developing on a daily basis with new ideas, which is really cool.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge, at least for me, right, connecting it to my dream to make sure that corporations have better EX and CX, I think there it will take more time to really, right, move away from the hype.
Yeah.
And think, okay, but which key issues do you want to solve right now?
Yeah, use the common sense like you said in the beginning.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
So you just mentioned I use AI a lot.
Yes.
Before we go to the third one, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that. Just share with us one or two things that you use AI for.
Yeah. And it's nice because Miranda is now managing me and saying, just share one or two examples because she knows I can talk about this for 3 days. So indeed, I play around with it a lot, partially because there's, an inner IT nerd in me that thinks this is really cool I just like to discover new things. So I play around with it. So on a practical level, we use it, for example, we make these podcasts and we use the chatbots, the chat GPTs to summarize it, make the description, for example, for YouTube, right? Make titles for the thumbnails, so super practical. Mm-hmm. Me personally, I take it a step further and I create a lot of virtual team members.
I'm thinking of one. It's so speaking to my imagination. It's the one with the slipper.
Oh, yeah.
Just throw a virtual slipper at my head.
Yeah, so I think one of the most, and maybe we'll dive into that later, but for me, one of the most beautiful applications. So one of the reasons why I wrote these blogs and I'm doing this podcast is because I think there's so much value in AI fueling the human experience. And we'll dive into that later. But for me, that's the same with creating these virtual team members. And you mentioned the Throw the Slipper, which is connected to Anne, my 24/7 coach, psychologist. I fed her with ideas about family constellations because that's a methodology that I really value. And now whenever there's something, right, reflection is a super important topic in my life, and I think also for business. So you have now 24/7 a reflection partner readily available for you. And the slipper example was, I don't know, I had slept 2 or 3 nights not super well for whatever reason, was a bit annoyed, and I felt, okay, I don't want my husband to be the victim of me being annoyed. So, hey, let me just say, Anne, I'm feeling really annoyed. Ask me some smart questions so I can reflect why I feel annoyed. And of course, depending on how you've instructed the ChatGPT, it's always, yes, it's really good. You're so aware of yourself. And then I texted back, I'm sorry, Anne, but even you being so sweet to me is super annoying to me now. And then she came back with the amazing response. I understand, Zanne. Just throw a virtual slipper at my head.
Yeah, amazing, right?
Amazing. I immediately had, no more annoyance. And so using tools like that, right? And I test a lot. There's now a hype around vibe coding. I tested that, then decided maybe it's better to have a human assist me. So just play around with it, right? And just see how it can add value in your daily work, because it's not, of course, it will also replace functions. But I think right now it's also, in my context, making me faster and better, right? And I think that's a super valuable experiment to do in your own daily life.
Yeah, for sure. Nice. Thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
So let's go to the third belief. And that is AI should be designed for efficiency.
Yes. A different story, but another interesting story that I will share to explain this one. So I was going to a client in Oman, and so there are nightly flights. So I was going to land early in the morning, and I don't really like then to wait for 8 hours in reception. So I thought I need to figure out something around early check-in. Is that possible? Or do I need to book like an extra night? That's also an option. Having experience with a lot of international hotel chains, I know that their website and customer service is already pretty bad, right? You need to call them. So I didn't even try to look online. I thought, let me call them. And of course, you get a central call center. It was a really well-known, global hotel chain. And the conversation, the computer starts already with, it was super clear. It was a computer voice, and it was already saying, speak slowly when you ask your question. Like, speak slowly. I don't want to speak slowly. So I didn't listen. So because I want to test this now, of course. So I just, put in my question, is it possible to do an early check-in? Something like that. And then it was silent for a really long time. And in my brain, I could just see, okay, this is, the voice bot software connecting to the phone software, connecting to the knowledge base software. And I was literally about to hang up when he came back with an answer. And it was something like, you can check in around 2:00. So not too bad, the answer, but not the answer that I needed. So I decided to hang up the phone. I think within 2 seconds, I see a phone number calling me. It was like an Amsterdam number, but immediately I felt, hey, it's probably connected to the call I just had. So I pick up the phone, and there's a human, right? Now it's super clear, a human. And he literally says to me, hey, why did you hang up while I was just giving you the answer to your question? What? I was so flabbergasted that I just hung up the phone because I thought I could have had the conversation with him, but he has just been instructed, right? And for me, that example is just, yes, we're so focused on making things efficient. I can just imagine, a team thing, hey, we should have a voice bot to reduce calls. And to make it a nice experience for customers, let's fake that a human was actually answering your question. So it's not that it's super inefficient, right? In this case, you're not answering my question, but also on a reputation basis, to me, this is shocking, right? You don't want to create this kind of custom experience.
And you should also be transparent, right?
Yes, at least make clear, hey, we're piloting with this, also fine. So I think too many organizations are too strongly focused on efficiency. Yes, there's a lot of win-win when it comes to efficiency. But the second part of the win-win is also think about the experience of customers. So I think in the end, you want to, use several design principles where you say, first of all, it needs to fix a business issue, right? Which business issue? We want to reduce calls. Fair enough. Then I think the second question is, do we actually have the data and the quality of the data that we can feed into whatever IT solution we have?
Yeah.
That's often already a big challenge. But then also think about, okay, what is the experience of the customer? What should it look like? And what should the experience of the employee look like? So think a bit more smartly, more holistically when you design new applications of AI.
Yeah, good one. All right. Fourth one?
Yes.
All right. So the fourth one, also a nice one. I heard it about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and I can hear it today. Customer needs are changing.
Yes, and they're changing fast. That's what everybody is saying. So I think already during my PhD, that was around 2005, 2006, it was already a lot of also people in call centers were saying, but the needs are changing very fast. And then at one point I asked customers, hey, what's one thing that would have exceeded your expectations? And then the answer was, well, I actually got an email back, right? I was very positively surprised. I mean, how many companies do you know still today promise to call you back within 24 hours and they don't?
Yeah.
But looking at customer needs, that's of course a layer deeper than expectations. And customer needs, 100 years ago, I went to my local pharmacist. Maybe when I walked in, they knew me. Hey, Zanna, how are you? They could give me advice. They could give me update on, it will take 5 days before I can deliver the product. So the human needs of personal attention, being understood, but also on a practical level, yes, it's nice to know what's the status of something I ordered and I paid for. That has not changed at all. Yeah. What has changed is the context in which you need to deliver and address those needs.
Yeah, it's much more complex, right?
It's much more complex. Now you have an order, a supply chain that comes from, China, US, wherever you are ordering it. You need to give customer service through WhatsApp. You need to use AI to maybe design a chatbot. So the context has become way more complex. But the customer needs, so we've done now, I think, over 250 driver analysis. And every time, across all different industries, different countries, the number one need is this human aspect, right? Give me personal attention, treat me with respect. And I'm not saying that should be delivered by a human, right? For me, also technology can facilitate that. But then I'm already moving to the conclusion, so let me stop there. So I think that's really crucial, right? If you want to use AI, always start with customer needs and know the needs are not changing, but the way that you need to address the needs has become way more challenging.
Yeah, nice. All right. Last belief that we're going to demystify is remove friction is one of the most important things.
Yes. So as I just already mentioned, right, from all the research that we've done, it's not the ease of doing things, right? It's not the transactional stuff. It's the human stuff that has the biggest impact. Yeah, what do you see all the digital transformation programs doing right now in companies? They're fully focused on, hey, we need to remove friction. It needs to be easier. It needs to be faster. And I'm not saying that you should completely ignore it, right? So these are, let's say, the hygiene factors, right? Yeah. The basics. In telco, for example, it's the same with the network. If my network is super bad and I cannot call, I will not be very happy. I'll be super unhappy. But if the network is functioning well, I will not rate you a 9 or 10 because I expect a functioning network. That's what a hygiene, right, factor is. If it's not working, customers are super unhappy. But if it's functioning well, I'll rate you a 7 or 8 because I'm expecting this.
Yeah. And we want to go for the 8+, right?
Yeah, at least you want to balance it. Yeah. So you want to be conscious in making choice. Hey, we need to fix the basics, and you need to for sure, because otherwise, if, again, in the example of the network, if the network is really bad, then you can give me personal attention however much. I cannot call, right? So there's a line, right, that you need to cross. But then indeed, don't blindly only look at speed, transactional stuff, and ease of doing things, especially in the digital side. Make sure you're consciously designing on top of the baseline, what are the key differentiators? Where can I add that human flavor? Whether it's actually through a human or whether it's through AI, and you can really consciously design that part of the experience.
All right. So, conclusion.
Conclusion, yes. So for me, as I mentioned at the beginning, right, I'm a strong believer in the potential of AI. I think it's a super hopeful future that we're entering, because for over 25 years, the promise of IT has been, let's automate things that are not super inspiring to do as a human.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of repetitive tasks. But I mean, how many companies still have a lot of jobs that are super repetitive? So for me, that's where I see the beauty of AI, right? For AI to enhance the human experience. I mean, nurses are spending crazy amounts of time on administration. If that can be solved by whether it's workflow automation, AI, machine learning, I don't care.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. And to make sure that nurses can spend time again with patients, that teachers can spend time with students, right? That we really, in my utopia, right, I see that if we remove all the repetitive tasks, then we enhance the time spent on purpose-driven topics, right? I really feel I'm making an impact, I'm making a difference. Or maybe, I don't know, 50 years ahead, if the promise of AI is that the productivity will increase exponentially, then why work 5 days, right? Why not say, hey, let's have, 4-hour work days, and parents can spend more time with their kids.
Yeah.
Right? I think especially now there are so many people struggling. You need to have 2 jobs to even, just pay the bills. That to me is my dream scenario, right? Remove all that and really go back to the essence of connecting as humans, what matters to me in this life, and just, follow that human flourishing path ahead.
Nice. That's a nice end of the podcast, I think. So there are the blogs. If people want to read more, there is the book.
Yes.
How do I get this book?
You can get this book. We're going to open up a pre-order form. And let me think of the website. It will be zannavandera.com/once you see it. Because what we didn't mention yet is that the title of the book is Once You See It. So I'm describing the playbook for human-centric CX transformation and introducing the 3-layered model of successful CX transformation. And I'm describing it from the CEO and the CX leader perspective. And because AI is such an important topic, in between, as sort of an intermission, I wrote a chapter on AI. And that's also available as a separate PDF. So DM me if you're looking for that. But you can pre-order the book through the /once you see it link.
Nice. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And see you next time.
Ciao.